Hey there, so we're back, this time sooner than last time,
Yeah.
and we thought we would share our actual budget with you. Really, how much money you're going to make and have available is one of the key questions you want to answer to find out what kind of life you can build over here. So there is the good news and the bad news. The bad news, let's start with the bad news.
Bad news.
Bad news first. Bad news is the cost of living is really high in British Columbia.
High.
It is frustratingly high a lot of the times, to be honest. All right, so let's get to our budget. This is our actual budget and how much we pay for these things. And so you can get an idea of what it's like to live on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. I don't know about, you'd probably be able to just see how rent differs. That would be the big one. Transportation costs, I think, probably. And then fuel, gas prices. They call it gas for gasoline. It's actually not a gas, it's a liquid. They call it here in North America, basically. That'll change over time. I think important to note, this is March 2022. So if things in the world have drastically changed by the time you watch this video, then take that into account.
Okay, so first of all, rent. 3-bedroom house, $2,300 a month.
Next, gasoline, fuel. We are paying about $350 a month. We drive a small car, a little 2-liter Audi with a turbo. If you're going to be driving a big North American V8, you can probably double or triple that number.
I think triple.
Yeah.
So hydro, that's what they call electricity around here. We just heat 1 bedroom. In the winter, it is expensive. It's about $450 every second month. They bill for a 2-month period. And in the summer, it can be as low as $40 a month.
Next, food. I think you should take that one too.
Yes, food, we eat very frugally. And we pay between $500 and $600 a month on food. And we also have wine every day. So
It's probably a bit more than...
that's a little bit more. But we almost never go out for dinners, takeout or restaurant eating.
Yeah.
As a family, almost never.
Yeah, they're expensive with kids. 5 people. Okay, next, if you're going to be working, if you have kids and you're going to have to put them in preschool, you can expect to pay anything from $1,200 to $1,800 a month to have one child taken care of in preschool and daycare. So it can add up if you have a few kids.
The kids in school, for school going age, for primary school and high school and kindergarten as well, is free.
Okay, activities free for foreigners as well?
Yes.
Schooling? Okay. Wow. It's a good deal. See, that's where you get good value for your tax.
Exactly. And also medicals are free. The dentist is not free.
Yeah.
If you choose to do activities like gymnastics extra, you're looking at $600 per semester. And it is quite hard to get in. If you want to do horse riding, that's between $60 and $80 a lesson. If you want to do something like ballet and dance, that is around about $200 per term.
Per term, 6 months?
No, term.
What's a term?
That's 3 months.
Okay, 3 months. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, vehicles. That's pretty easy. You go online. All the vehicle sellers have vehicle payment calculators. So you can just pop that in there if you're expecting to buy a new vehicle. We did share in the previous video that you can't finance a new vehicle. So
if you are not a permanent resident.
If you're not a permanent resident, yeah, you have very little option to finance vehicles. We are paying nothing for our vehicle.
Yes. We paid cash for it.
We paid cash. It cost us $4,000.
Insurance a month is $95. If you want to have the most basic insurance that doesn't cover any accidents, then it's $65 a month.
So internet, most of the homes have fiber optic going into the homes, and you expect to pay about $120 for that. The next one is a painful one, cell phones. It is very expensive compared to what we're used to. Canada is pretty brutal. You pay probably about $35 for per phone, and we're on about, I think, a $55 plan now, because that's for almost no data. So you don't pay for the calls, you just pay for the data. And when that runs out, it's really expensive as well.
That excludes the mobile phone itself. We brought our own phones, yes. That's just your service fee and your data.
Yeah. So you're just paying for, and I think about $35 you probably get about 1 gig, and thereafter I think about $45 you get 4 gigs, and we ran out of that as well. And if you have to top up, 1 gig costs like $20 to top up. So I thought, well, stuff that. I'm just gonna, the next package for $10 more is 45 gigs, which will never run out. I mean, we're never going to use that. Next is online subscriptions. So things like Apple Music, Netflix, Disney Channel, all that sort of stuff. You know what that costs. That's all available. So I think we're paying about $20 for that a month. So very little. Bank costs, also a nice one. We are part of a bank on the island called Island Savings. It's a co-op bank. So there's a company structure on the island or in Canada that are co-ops. That's community owned, member owned. So it's free. We pay nothing for bank costs.
I know some people have a clothes budget, or they end up buying lots of clothes. We don't have a culture like that personally. So we literally don't have a clothes budget. And when we need to buy clothes, we buy it from the thrift store if I can. That's it. We get a lot of things given to us. A lot of people just pass on their clothes. So we have a load of passed on clothes. We love them.
So one of the things I think it's worth mentioning is that because it is such a well-functioning first world society, and there's a lot of money moving around, and they don't have such a big consumer culture, I would say, but there's just so much stuff being passed on and free things being put out in the street, or free things being donated to these thrift stores. So a thrift store, if you don't know what that is, it's a charity shop where they just give things and these people sell it for, almost no money.
50 cents, $3.
Things like that. And oftentimes there's junk in there, but other times you really find great things. So it's a great place to get set up for almost anything that you need. You can almost find anything in these places. I'm also a member of the rock climbing gym, and that is $52 a month, I think. So there you go. That's our budget. Actual living costs. You can scale the values up and down if you're more people or less people that are in your family, and if you're expecting to pay less rent or more rent, if you're going to live in a city or a smaller town, you can look those prices up online. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Bye. So they've got a joke, and they say British Columbia stands for Bring Cash, BC, Bring Cash. So that is unfortunate if you plan to live here like me. The other thing is Vancouver Island, where we live, is even more so, because everything has additional transport to get here, and the weather is pretty good. It's pretty temperate compared to pretty much everywhere else in Canada. So the housing market has exploded and just continues to rise at about 20-30% a year almost. But more on that later. So the good news is that the living wage and the wages people pay is really high. So if you have a fairly entry-level job, you'll be making decent money. And if you have a management position, for example, you just make a little bit more, not drastically more. So it's pretty good for the trades, and sort of the baseline of all the salaries and employees is brought up really high. So your middle class, I think, is really strong, and that's why the country works really well, because of the tax system and a bunch of other stuff.
I feel you get value for your tax. You pay high percentage tax, but what you see and what you get for it is good.
Absolutely, and that's that's one of the frustrations of third world countries is there's corruption, there's vast unemployment, and you don't feel like your tax money So we might pay a little bit less tax, or have paid a little bit less tax, but you feel you get very little for it. Where here you get a great deal for it, I would say.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so as an example, if you're a plumber or a carpenter, you can expect to earn, let's say, between $24 an hour to up to about $35 an hour, I would say. And if you were a manager, you would expect to earn maybe between 30 to 40, 45 at the most, I would say. So the trades and practical work really, pay really well. The minimum wage at the moment, I think, is around about $14, but nobody pays that because there's such a big demand for employment. Everywhere you go, it just says hiring. Everyone's trying to hire. So if you don't have a job, you can pretty much walk into a new job the very next day. And you probably start, I would say, there'd be very little jobs that pay under 20. The most basic work would probably pay around about 20, 18 to 20. Anything with a little bit of brains would be about that. Yeah.
You have to have a work visa or permanent residence to be able to work here. People will not employ you if you do not have a work visa.
Yes, so they're very compliant with the law. So what you can do, you know what your skill and qualification is, and then you would go onto a website like TurboTax. If you look at how much money you put in, basically what you expect to earn. So if you're a sort of mid-level plumber, you would say, I'm going to put in $28 an hour or $30 an hour. See how many hours you're going to work and put that in, and that'll kick out what your deductions are going to be, and how much you can expect to earn. If you have a husband and a wife, or a girlfriend or boyfriend, girlfriend that's working, then you'd be in a pretty good position, I would say, because 2 incomes probably goes a long way. We are homeschooling mom, the toughest job in the world, and I earn, I would say, fairly good, but single income.